Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up to the line. Oh, blocked by James. With a new shot clock.
Oh, great no-look to Zizic, who puts it home.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Touchdown, Ohio State. And Curry has to back off as James throws it down.
Struck him out looking. That's his 10th strikeout of the night.
Braxton Miller is loose. Spin move! Miller headed for the end zone!
Edwin drills it. Deep left. It is gone, and the Indians win it.
Smith, alley-oop to James. Wow.
Next thing you go up initially, he's going to take a shot. Has some air under it. Has his man Kaiser. Perfectly thrown pass to Gordon. Touchdown Cleveland.
Welcome on into another edition of the Real Sports Talk Show. Like always, I am your host, Paul Jacobek, and I am glad to be welcomed here today with my good old friend, Kevin Rosser, and our special guest, Cleveland fans, as we get into the last episode of our pre-draft coverage. And today we're going to be getting into what, hopefully, as we're a week away from the draft, hopefully we get into what we think these two picks are going to go. And if there's going to be any funny business with the Browns trading, which hopefully they don't. And, you know, we'll get into some other stuff later on. But to start things off, I think the big question that everybody wants to know, guys, is it going to be quarterback at 1, or are we going to see anything tricky, or what's going to happen?
Oh, it's definitely going to be quarterback at 1. I don't think that's much of the question, but it's what quarterback it's going to be at 1. That's the big question.
I disagree. I feel that with a week away, things could change, but I still don't believe that Hugh Jackson and John Dorsey have their guy. And if they don't have their guy at 1, I think it's a no-brainer to take Bradley Chubb, number 1 overall, and sit back and see how the Giants and Jets pick, or if another team trades up to one of those two picks, sit back and wait for 4, because at worst there can only be 2 other quarterbacks taken.
Now,
Yeah.
I will say, before I cut you off there, Cleveland fans, I will say I was listening to the radio this morning, and I was listening to some Darryl Ryder, and when I was listening to him talk, and he was really getting into everything that was going on, he kept saying that, you know, Hugh Jackson said, you know, he's been away from the team. He's had some personal stuff that he's had to deal with. And when I was listening to the interview with Hugh Jackson, which if you guys get a chance, listen to Hugh Jackson. It was actually a press conference after they got done with practice the other day. And the way he was saying stuff is that he has no say in what's going on.
It doesn't seem as if he does. It seems like it's John Dorsey and Elliott Wolf that are going
And
to be making...
Alonzo Highsmith. It's those big three so far.
It's the front office guys. It's not the coaching staff. I don't think Hugh has much of a say at all. I don't think he has more of a say than Todd Haley even.
Now, do you agree with that? Do you think that your head coach, who is considered a quarterback guru, do you believe that he deserves to have a say in this? Or do you think he doesn't have a say because they're not going QB at 1?
I think I don't know if he deserves to have a say in it, but I would definitely listen to what he has to say. But now, ultimately, would I let his decision... I would let it affect my decision, maybe, but not change my decision.
Okay.
Well, we all remember that Cody Kessler was, quote-unquote, Hugh's guy.
But
when he
I
was
don't know if
taken.
he was just trying to suck up to the front office people with that, or try and just make it seem not as bad of a pick.
Well, I do know you have him saying that Cody Kessler was his guy. And then to this day, everybody still says that the Johnny Manziel pick was 100% overruled by the owner, and that was his
By
pick.
Jimmy Haslam,
Yeah, by
yeah.
Jimmy Haslam going with Johnny Manziel.
I believe that for
so
sure.
now we're gonna go ahead and give it to Dorsey, and now Dorsey's gonna go ahead and do with whatever he wants with it. I feel confident that they're gonna do something good with the 1 and the 4. I don't believe that they will trade them, but I will say I am really hoping for Chubb. I don't know where it goes if he's 1 or 4, but I'm praying that we get Bradley Chubb.
Well, it's starting to sound more and more like Bradley Chubb's going to be there at 4. From what everyone's saying, it sounds like Barkley's going to be 2 to the Giants if they don't trade down to a QB needy team. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah has been talking about how it just seems inevitable at this point for Barkley to be a Giant.
He was wearing a Giants hoodie at the barbershop,
Yeah.
which hopefully we don't get sued by LeBron for saying barbershop, but
I heard he's actually getting sued by somebody now. LeBron is about that.
LeBron and Alabama are going back and forth about
No,
it.
somebody's trying to sue LeBron about it now.
I don't think you can win against LeBron if you try to sue him.
Yeah, that's a good.
Try it, Rosser.
Yeah, I think given the situation, Bradley Chubb, in my opinion, is the no-brainer at number 1. Not as big of a lock as Myles Garrett was at number 1 last year, but hopefully, knock on wood, Chubb will have an injury-free camp and preseason, and we'll get a full 16 games out of him, unlike we were able to get out of Myles Garrett's rookie season.
Now, before we get into what Cleveland wants over here, what Cleveland fans want, you said you have Chubb at 1, and then you play out, what happens with the Giants and everything like that. Who's somebody at 4, either quarterback or whatever? Who do you want at 4 if they take Chubb 1?
I'm gonna make 2 statements. One is going to be a quarterback, one's going to be a non-quarterback. I'll start with a non-quarterback, and I'll stick with the defensive side, and hopefully the Browns take a Buckeye for once in Denzel Ward. He is, without a doubt, the best corner in this class by a mile, in my opinion. Josh Jackson is nice, but he does not touch Denzel Ward on a coverage basis.
Man-to-man Ward is insane.
Yeah, hopefully he can get up his tackling skills a bit, and that's going to take a couple years to adjust to the pro style and speed of the game in general. But from a coverage standpoint, he's going to be a guy that's going to come in week 1 and make a solid impact on number 1 and number 2 wide receivers.
I think that's what you need no matter what anyways. I think you need to have whoever you draft, a first-round player. Now, I hate when people say, oh, well, this guy, he deserves to go first round. You go first round because you are an impact player. No matter what, you are supposed to walk in day 1 in the building. You're supposed to be an impact player. Now, Cleveland fans, you said that you want to go QB1. Now, who do you have sitting at 4 that you would like to see? Or maybe, if you are going that quarterback route, do you want to go ahead and continue an offensive route? Do you want to go defensive? I mean, we can even go kicker if you want.
Yeah, we could go kicker. That would be only the most Browns type of thing in the world.
Kicker at 4.
I wish. But I think Chubb will be there, and obviously I want Chubb at 4.
So you're going to go QB1 and then Chubb at 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would be happy with Barkley at 4, though, too. Now, just because of the Hyde signing, I don't know if the running back position is that big of a need for us right now. But what John Dorsey did a great job with in this offseason, he addressed all of our glaring needs. We don't have any really major hole except for the Joe Thomas retirement.
That is very true, yeah.
Because going into this, we were saying how our secondary was just terrible, how it was so weak. But we didn't get any big names by any means. I won't argue that.
We got solid players.
Yeah, we got solid actual NFL players, like John Dorsey would like to say, with the E.J. Gaines signing and T.J. Carey. So those are 2. I'm not comfortable with either one of them being a shut-down number 1 corner, but they're both solid enough. That's my point. And we're solid enough in almost every position except for maybe defensive tackle, but that Larry guy, he had a great season. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because
Now, adding to what Cleveland fans just said, I really thought going into the offseason, you were looking at up and down the roster, And like he said, we had no playmakers. We had nobody that could really go out, get the ball, or do anything, And I'm looking at the secondary, and the entire time I just kept saying, like, all right, we have to do something in free agency. We have to. And if not, our first 2 picks, you would have to go almost defensive back, or defensive back, defensive lineman or something. But they went out and they finally spent some money, and they actually got some quality players that are, even if you do go out and you get Ward, Ward can learn off of these guys. These guys are not just bums that we threw big money at. They're actual solid guys.
Oh, yeah. What was his name from Green Bay that we got?
Demarius Randall.
Demarius
Randall.
Yeah.
And that's why, because initially I thought we were going to go Minkah Fitzpatrick at 4 to fill that defensive back hole.
Everybody had it.
And now
everybody did.
And now you bring him in, and it feels like instead of being a cornerback, he's going to transition to safety.
And that's his
help
natural
out,
position, too.
Help out
Right.
Jabril Peppers a bit so that he's
Jabril
not playing
Peppers,
center field by
yeah.
himself.
40 yards off, which has always
No.
been the weakest part of his game. I don't know why we decided to do that for him.
Now, I will say they were talking about this today on the radio when I was going into work, and they kept saying that if if you really have paid attention to the lineup, or not the lineup, but if you've really paid attention to the roster the past couple of years, you really might see some guys on this roster that when times get tough and we hit the cut line here at the end of training camp, we might see some guys that we thought that either a couple years ago or whatever it was when we got them, that we thought these guys might be some good guys, and you guys might start seeing some guys that we know their names and they're getting cut because they're not going to cut it. And Dorsey, when Dorsey said that he is going to get football players, he's not joking around.
Oh, and not just, borderline players. You look at the big names across the entire league this offseason that have been cut. Des Bryant, the most recent example.
I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I thought they were gonna offer him the pay cut and he was gonna take it. And he did say he would take the pay cut.
They didn't offer him the pay
Yeah,
cut.
but they never
That's
did.
the
It was
thing.
insane. I never saw that coming. I really thought that he was gonna be a Cowboy for life.
I didn't necessarily see it coming, but Jordan Schultz tweeted the day that they signed, what's his face, Alan Hearns.
Yeah, Alan Hearns.
That most likely meant the cutting of
I
Des
wanted
Bryant.
Alan
He
Hearns.
tweeted that the day that signing happened, predicting that, and man, I'll give him credit. And it started to seem like it wasn't, and everyone was denying it, but sure enough, he was right.
Yeah.
I want to get back to my number 4 pick prediction because throughout all of the pre-draft shows we've done, Paul, you and I, the quarterback position by far has been the position that we have disagreed the most upon.
Yes.
And at the 4 spot, the guy that I would want, the guy that I think is going to end up being the best quarterback in this class.
Say his name again.
I will say Lamar Jackson. I don't think he
Get out of my house.
He does not deserve to be taken at 4, though. I think he can be taken much later. However, if you're gonna,
I will agree with you on that.
if you're gonna say you need to take a quarterback at 4, to me there are only 2 options.
Here we go.
One of them is Josh Allen.
Oh boy.
I despite his struggles throwing some short to medium range passes,
Correct.
I feel that that's a thing that you can sit behind
And develop.
Tyrod Taylor and learn.
Right, you can
over,
develop.
over
Okay.
a season or 2.
Okay.
What you cannot develop once you get to the NFL is that strength
Right.
in his arm and the ability to make deep throws downfield. Still might be some accuracy issues, but again, that's something that can be addressed in practice and through an off season or 2.
Now, before we get into your second guy, I'm not going to go too far into it, but I'm just going to ask you. You said Josh Allen. Now, you like him because he's got a big arm, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what if I told you I can get you the same quarterback with the same arm? He can't throw the small routes. He can't throw any of the slants or anything like that, but he's got a cannon for an arm. And this guy's in the league right now, and he's actually sitting behind a guy who I think could be a potential I don't want to. I would say that he is kind of on the. He's a very well known quarterback. That's for sure. He's been around the league forever, but not the guy I'm talking. I'm talking about. He's sitting behind him. Now, would you want to go out? Because I can trade you Cardell Jones instantly. I don't think the Chargers are dying right now if they traded Cardell Jones, because we all know he's got a cannon for an arm, but he can't do hook routes. He can't do slants. He can't do anything. But you want that guy to throw a 70-yard fade, he's going to throw it.
That's the fact that Cardell Jones has had a couple years in the league to try and learn that, and that he can't.
2 years.
That's why I said couple.
But he's behind Phillip Rivers right now, and I still don't think that they have any. And I love Cardell Jones. Don't get me wrong. I wanted him when he came out of college. I thought, he's got a cannon for an arm. But when you think about it, you can't bring in a guy like that and just say, well, he's going to develop this, he's going to develop that. Because some guys, as we've seen before with the Justin Gilberts of the world, they just don't have that same, they don't have the same fire in them to really get it. They think that, I don't need that kind of stuff. I can just live with the big play arm. And I really think that's what Josh Allen's going to do. He's going to try and succeed in the NFL with that big play arm, and it's not going to work for him.
Which brings me to my second likely quarterback I would want.
I think I know where you're going.
You may or may not know, because you want to talk about a guy that has fire and that has palpable, actual physical, you can see the passion that he has for the game. It's clearly not Josh Rosen, because no one knows where his head is at. But you want to talk about a guy who's, I think, being overlooked and will probably fall to an organization that will treat him right.
He's overlooked.
He refuses to go past 5. I'll say that, if you're talking about who I think you are.
I think you guys... I say Baker Mayfield, honestly.
Baker.
A lot of people are having him go to Miami, which I think would be a decent scheme fit.
I think
but
off the field, that would be a train wreck.
Which is why you have him, you say to him, okay, we're going to draft you, but you have to sit behind Tyrod for at least a full season.
I guarantee no matter what, we will say this, it's almost a guarantee whoever they do draft, they are sitting for at least the entire year. There's no way whoever we take, they are going to be, honestly, don't even give the guy a helmet because he's not playing. It's going to be Tyrod Taylor unless there's an injury. And then it's going to Drew Stanton, who we signed for $10. So, now going back to what Rosser said with the whole Baker Mayfield. Now, do you guys remember who the last quarterback that John Dorsey drafted was?
Technically, it was Patrick Mahomes.
Do you know? A lot of people are saying that he went and got him. Now, he did move to get him. That was not their draft pick. He went and got him.
They moved on up.
A lot of people said that they went and got him because, he's a big play arm, everything like that. John Dorsey already said himself why he went and got him. It was everything between the ears with Mahomes. This dude is always in the film room, always working on stuff because he's always trying to make himself better. And one reason why I agree that I think the Browns should take a waiver and really try and get Baker Mayfield and it's not just because I like Baker Mayfield. The guy disrespected Ohio State, but the reason why I like the guy is, like you said, he's got tremendous fire with him. But this guy is in the office every time watching film on defenses. I've seen so many reports on this guy that they've said he has never left the film room because he wants to know exactly what's going on at all times. And now I understand there's a lot of quarterbacks that get into that. A lot of players, they watch film all the time. They're watching this, watching that. But unless you're fully studying, there's a reason why he went into the shoe last year and dismantled the Buckeyes, and he didn't the year before. He was not ready for Ohio State the first year. Second year, he was way more than ready.
And you look at a guy like Sam Darnold, who a lot of people are thinking we should take number 1 overall. You compare Baker Mayfield's performance against Ohio State in Columbus.
Scary good.
To Sam Darnold's performance against Ohio State
Scary
on a
bad.
neutral site. Exactly.
Scary bad.
Exactly. That shows, one, I thought, I knew that Darnold was not ready to face an NFL at least borderline NFL caliber defense.
That's a nasty front that Ohio State threw at him,
Oh, yeah.
and he was so confused. He had no idea what he was doing. And that's why when we're talking about Mayfield, that's why when I really think about it, people say, well, he's going to be Johnny Manziel. And I really did. I thought that. I was like, well, this guy's going to be no way. He's going to be next Johnny Manziel. And then I started seeing all the reports about him doing this and with the film work and him training all the time. And then I watched the rest of his season after the Buckeyes game. And I just watched this guy he wasn't going out there, just to win. He was going out there because he knew you didn't like him, but he was going to destroy you. And he's the one who came out with a really, really good one the other day. And he said, without pressure, you don't have diamonds. And that's why I'm here. It's
Yeah,
true.
you
This
know who
guy
else
is under
said
a
that?
lot of pressure.
Johnny Manziel said that on
And
draft day,
you know what
too.
Johnny Manziel said? Johnny Manziel also said that the Cleveland Browns should have known that he did not know the X's and O's.
Yeah, that was
So-
just a couple weeks ago, though.
And that's why I'm saying I really think that if you want to try and if you want your number one quarterback, go ahead and say I want this guy, But I'm telling you, don't sleep on Mayfield. I really think that this dude can be solid because of his work ethic.
Now, I know you. I'm not sure if you guys were looking at past the first two picks in depth.
We're trading up. I'm
You
calling it right now. I'm saying we trade up to either the late first round or we're in the early first or second round.
Okay, so if we trade back up into the first round with our third selection in the draft, what position do you think we go with and why?
Depends on what we've already picked. If we don't go the Denzel Ward route, I could see us trading up again, Josh Jackson. That would make sense. I'd be perfectly fine with that. Or maybe even Darius Juice from LSU.
I wouldn't mind another. I honestly don't mind where the position, but I don't mind another offensive side of the ball player.
I don't know.
I wouldn't mind it. I don't know about wide receivers or anything like that, but I really wouldn't mind anybody who they really brought in at that point.
I think we can sit back on receivers if we're going to take one. I talked about it for years, how we've passed up on first-round talent wide receiver-wise for a good 5 to 6 drafts and just watched all pro receivers just slip away. But I think this is one of those drafts.
We got Corey Coleman. Corey Coleman's isn't he all pro?
I don't think you realize just how few there have been good wide receivers out of the first round lately.
I will
But
say
it's
I
ones
was
that we
wrong.
could have picked easily.
I
and
was
we
wrong
passed
on the Treadwell. I thought
Everyone was wrong on
I
that.
thought Treadwell was going to be the guy, and he clearly does not care about football. So.
Even Randy Moss at one point reached out to him to try and help him out, and he just refused.
And that's how you know your career is going to go down the hole.
That's
That's not
That's
good.
what a lot of teams overlook is your passion for the game, which he obviously didn't have, just like Justin Gilbert.
Yeah, if you definitely need passion to be in the NFL, and it's not only just when you're really looking at a guy, because anybody can go and sit down in a meeting and then watch film on a guy and then say, all right, we might draft this guy. But just like Dorsey said, you really got to dig into these players and really find out, do these guys have the heart? Fourth quarter, late in the season, does this guy really have the heart to come back and really play in these games? And like we watched, for the last 2 years, these guys are going to be joining a team that won one game in the last 2 years. Are these guys really going to have the fire when they get drafted to really come in and play? Or are they just saying, well, I'm getting a contract, and then, once my rookie contract's up, I can go sign somewhere? Are these guys really committed to playing for the Cleveland Browns like Juice, like Juice is? Juice just signed that contract, and he's already ready to play on Sundays.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be very exciting. But a position that's not exciting is offensive line. And that's where I'm looking for the Browns to go with their third pick. Whether they sit back and take somebody at 33 overall or they try to trade back up into the late first round, I'm looking at the two big offensive linemen from Notre Dame.
I think they're both going to be solid.
Mike McGlinchey is the number one tackle in this class, and his teammate, Quentin Nelson, guard, is the top guard in the class, both coming from Notre Dame.
And a lot of people say the top player in the entire draft.
Yeah, there are only two A grades that were given out. It was either by NFL.com or one of the big scouts, and it was Quentin Nelson and Saquon Barkley because, and WalterFootball.com is a good source for draft prospects. They have Quentin Nelson going in the top 10. He may slip though. There are some teams that are looking at skill positions and front seven men on defense that I feel that there might be a team willing to sit back and have us trade up and take Nelson. Or we could settle for the offensive tackle Mike if we really need to, because Joe Thomas retiring was by far the biggest loss that we could have ever possibly had this offseason.
Very true. I will say before I get into what you just said, I have a question for both of you. Would you guys, now we did see what happened when you guys take an offensive lineman and it works out, and you guys see Joe Thomas and what he's done and everything like that, and
Joel Bitonio and Alex Mack.
Correct, but not on the level. I'm just saying the level of a Joe Thomas. Now, we're seeing a former Buckeye retire this week in Nick Mangold. Had a hell of a career, one of the best centers in the game for a long time. You know, like I said, former Buckeye. Now, one guy who is not getting any draft clout right now, and that's just because he got hurt. But would you guys want to see later on in the draft, because I know he's going to fall because he got hurt at the combine, but does anybody take a shot at the center from Ohio State and really let this guy become, if we took him, this guy could be the next Joe Thomas, but he's your center and he's your quarterback of your offensive line. And he won, the offensive line award in college, whatever, I forgot the name of it. But the guy is a absolute stud, and that's why I'm getting into this, because you brought up the offensive lineman from Notre Dame. If those guys got hurt, they're still going to be phenomenal when they come back.
Now, you're talking about...
This is future. This is like fourth round if he's still there, third round, something
Billy
like that.
Price.
Yeah, Billy Price.
Now, the price on a tackle is
price is right.
higher than any guard or
Right, that's
center.
And that's why I'm saying with him being a center, I think it could work out. Him getting drafted later.
Yeah,
The price is right in Cleveland, okay?
But it's the fact that, like he said about Quentin Nelson possibly going top 10, and he's one of the best prospects out there, the guards just aren't quite as sexy of prospects as tackles. Tackles have become...
Left tackle, but best.
Yeah,
left tackle.
tackle.
For sure.
But it took a while for teams to get into even taking any offensive lineman in general. And then when they did, it's only been really tackles that they've put such a high price tag on. So that's the problem with...
Well, I mean, when
Quentin
you have a
Nelson
movie
going
come
top
out
10.
called The Blind Side, and it's all about protecting the quarterback's
quarterback,
blind
yeah.
side, and we all know exactly how much a quarterback is valued. So if your quarterback goes
with
down,
the league going passing so
Right.
much more often, tackles are just they're more necessary than many think.
and you can't just go, my brothers, you can just go find one. You can't just go find one. The Giants found that out hard.
With Eric Flowers.
got a
Eric
bunch-
Flowers is a
Who hasn't
joke.
showed up for any kind of training.
Their
stuff
whole
for the
offensive
Giants yet.
line is 5 pylons.
Yeah, absolutely a joke. And that's why I feel so bad for any quarterback, Eli, or if they go out and they do get a quarterback. I feel bad because that offensive line needs help.
They do. They did trade for one though, from what was it? The Chiefs or the Bengals? It was the Bengals.
Where did Solder go?
I don't know, but it wasn't them.
I forgot where Solder went, but I really thought that the Giants...
Nate Solder ended up going to the Giants.
He did go there?
Yes.
Who did the Giants trade for then?
They traded for an offensive tackle from the Bengals.
I thought it was a guard.
Well, was it a I don't remember actually now. I forgot that Solder went there because I thought Solder was...
Or maybe it was the Bills that traded.
I thought
No,
Solder...
the Bills traded...
For... What's his name? Do you have it?
I don't have it.
Oh, I thought you had it. I remember seeing that trade because I remember watching it, and I was like, I remember watching that dude just absolutely manhandle good old Danny Shelton.
Cordy Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn.
He went to the Giants, correct?
No, Cordy Glenn.
No. Solder went to the Giants.
Oh.
Solder signed with the Giants.
So he's replacing.
And Cordy
Flowers.
Glenn.
Yeah.
Cordy Glenn went to the Bengals in a trade that saw them swap first-round picks.
Okay. All right, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
All right. So before we go ahead and wrap this up and we start doing our prayers nightly for the Browns to hopefully
Take Sam Darnold at 1, please.
No.
I was just going to say get this right, but we'll go with that.
That would be getting it wrong.
Now, last time we did do our predictions. I don't want to do predictions again until after the draft because I mean we haven't had any new acquisitions or anything like that. But honestly, and this is a true question, are you guys actually like truly excited for this year, or is it it's the same old, we're gonna go watch the draft? Or are you guys actually hyped for what they're doing this year?
This year feels different. I mean, we've said this all the time, but
Definitely.
this year it's a football guy running it, not an analytics guy. So it truly is different.
Not just a football guy, but a football guy that helped change the culture
That is proved.
of a perennial disappointment in the Chiefs. And granted, they've been bounced out of the playoffs the last couple seasons, but the fact that they're getting there on a consistent basis and proving themselves in the regular season that they can win football games, not just on flukes, but consistently doing things right, play in and play out, and getting the guys that can do that on a week-to-week basis. I'm really excited to see what John Dorsey does.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
agree. That is going to go ahead and wrap things up for our last pre-draft show. We will get a show out as soon as the draft ends, probably the next day or after the first round, and we'll go ahead and recap everything
Probably
the Browns
after the
did.
second round, too.
Well, yeah, we'll for sure get we'll get multiple shows out either right after the draft, but definitely after the first round. We'll have a round 1 recap, and we'll go ahead and dissect everything that the Browns did or didn't do, and we'll go ahead and find out exactly how the first 10 picks ended up playing out for the league. Until then, we hope that you guys continue to show our Instagram and YouTube and iTunes and everything else some love, and we hope that you guys continue to keep on listening. Like always, this is Paul for Foisey across the street, working on our shows as always. Rosser and Cleveland fans, go ahead and say goodbye to our great fans.
Sam Darnold, no matter what. That's all I got to say.
There you go.
Why do we have him?
Yep, there you go.
Final seconds. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again.
This ball is... It is gone! It's a game-winning walk-off 2-run home run to left.
Here's LeBron James. He heads fire. Ball game. He did it. LeBron James wins it for